Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
All right, Oilers fans, we are back. Thank you for watching Game Over Edmonton. We got our special guest today. It's Shaden. How you doing, buddy?
I'm great. School's done. It's summer. Oiler playoff hockey, and they got the huge win today.
Big W. And you know Zach and I are always here bringing you all the action every show. But hey, you know who else is getting you in on the action? It's our friend Sports Interaction. Every hit, every shot, every goal from all your favorite teams and players. Guys, tonight, Edmonton put on a clinic. And with competitive odds, the best live in play, and more ways than ever to get into the game, like Minute Madness, the exclusive game with so many opportunities to win by the minute, you can make your bet with Sports Interaction. Download the app in Ontario, use the QR code you see at the bottom of the screen, or head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN to get started. 19 plus, please play responsibly. And once again, letting you know that we are raising money for Alphabet Sports Collective throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs. Alphabet Sports Collective creates a safe and inclusive environment in hockey for folks of all sexual identities and gender expressions through education, community building, and mobilization. You can donate to Alphabet Sports Collective at www.alphabetsportscollective.com/donate. All right, guys, let's get to it. Meat and potatoes of this game. What a game to talk about. When you look at it, it's 4-1, but no one cares about the scoreline at the end of this. This was a knuckle duster of a game. Zach, get us started, man. Get us hyped.
Oh, man. This was one of my favorite performances from the Edmonton Oilers, potentially of all time. There's the caveat being if they win the series. Man, this was such a hard fought, such a deserved victory. This was one of the most impressive games that I have seen the Edmonton Oilers play, potentially in my entire time watching this team. You know, everything coming off that last game, we can all agree their worst performance. Honestly, I want to say of the season. Besides that 6-2 game in Montreal on Super Bowl Sunday, that game was one of the most frustrating games I've ever watched. And I came on the show.
You're forgetting Anaheim again, bud.
Collective. Yeah. Whatever. Anyways, that game, I knew. You knew the Oilers were going to respond, but to the degree that they responded, the Golden Knights should be scared. The Oilers dominated in every category that you possibly could. And I saw early on, Golden Knights fans are saying, oh, the refs are handing the game to the Oilers. The refs are handing the game to the Oilers. Take away the Oilers' power play goal. They've scored 3 5-on-5. The Knights scored 1. The Knights had 5 power plays. They couldn't get anything done. The Knights had their show run so hard. It's so embarrassing. They're going to be fuming. Now, obviously, we're going to get into this later. It's going to be a better effort in Vegas on Friday. But Oilers fans should be ecstatic. Shaden, what do you think?
Yeah, well, first thing about Vegas fans, I found it funny how they started complaining about I think it was the Yamamoto cross-check on Stone, which led to the outcome goal.
Right off the bat.
When the game before, I forgot who high-sticked Yamamoto because I don't really care. But then it was Eichel who scored 10 seconds after, right? So they can complain about the reffing all they want. Like you said, they got their show run 5v5. I'm pretty sure after 2 periods, they only had 4 shots 5v5. They got killed. They were better in the third period because the Oilers kind of sat back, but the Oilers absolutely took it to them. They killed them. Very kind of like game 2 where the game wasn't even close. And, it's kind of frustrating because I want the Oilers to play like this every single game. And for some reason, they just don't.
Mm-hmm.
And
inconsistency. That's the name of the Oilers.
You get. I think one of the biggest reasons as to why they played like that today, kind of to build on what you're saying, is you got that 2-0 save from Skinner, that huge save on Stone where Yamamoto did give the cross check, but Stone is a very skilled player. He was all alone in front. That was one of Stu's best saves. The Oilers go the other way. They score a goal. That is that momentum saver, that thing you could build on, that happens in the defensive zone early on in the game that you didn't get early on. Both games 1 and game 3, the Oilers scored the first goal, similar to how they scored tonight. Whether it's one was a 5-on-5, one was on the power play. The difference is both games, Vegas responded within 2 minutes of that goal, right? Skinner let in kind of not a weak goal, but one that you're like, come on, buddy, it's the final 8, make the save. You know what I mean, right? So this game, you get the saves, you get that insurance, and you could build. And once you start building, Vegas starts chasing, they can't catch up. They cannot catch up to the Oilers. The Oilers are too fast. Their neutral zone defense is top notch, next level. The adjustments that they made were phenomenal. Vegas generates almost all their offense off the rush. They got nothing. I said this to you guys before the show, but credit to Adams on Hockey on Twitter, Jason Adams. He brought up, he was harping on how the Oilers in the first period of game 3 allowed 12 or 13 high danger chances in the first period. That's an entire game's worth of high danger chances. This game, through 40 minutes, Vegas got 1 high danger chance. 1. Vegas is going to sit there and tell you they weren't good enough. But I think in the games that Edmonton lost, they were more bad than Vegas was good, if that makes sense. These games, I think Vegas just couldn't catch up to Edmonton. And this was Edmonton's best showing of the playoffs by far.
Guys, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Like, when we talk about the power plays, I thought this was a well-refed game. Don't forget, this game started like 24 seconds in with a penalty on McLeod for tripping, right? Like, we weren't getting all the power plays left, right, and center here. But the Edmonton Oilers power play is just too deadly. You give them a chance and they'll score on it. When you get these later power plays into the game, those are all write-offs, because at that point in the game, no one's thinking about scoring anymore. It's more about getting out with all of your fingers. Looking at this start, guys, there's something about games in this Stanley Cup playoffs where everything's a blowout. Like, this has been a series of blowouts back and forth, back and forth. Yeah. What sort of insight do you have on this? Because
I think it's wild. A bit overstated. I don't know. Like, I see people complaining about the games. Like, Toronto beat Florida 2-1 today. I think most Toronto games have been relatively close. Like, our games, they're within the balance of the game. Of like, there could be a winner. You know, it could go either way. For a significant portion of time. Like, I want to say, the first game the Oilers won, or the Vegas won. The Oilers scored 4 goals, and then game 3, the game that the Oilers lost, like, that was 1-1 game through, 10 minutes in, or I believe longer. Then Vegas got like 3 goals in like a bunch within like 6 minutes and kind of just put it to bed. But I don't think that they've been bad. I'm also biased because, again, I'm cheering for a team in the playoffs. So to me, this is a phenomenal game. But I also think, with all that physicality, all that, all the shenanigans that happened in the third period that I'm sure we can get into more, that kind of, to me, that makes it a really good game. Before we kind of go into the deep stuff, I just want to ask you guys before the game, because this is going to be a big talking point. Jay Woodcroft makes the decision to go 12-6. The Oilers in the regular season don't have I think their 11-7 record is significantly better than when they go 12-6. I believe they've gone 11-7 almost every single game except for game 1 against LA. Shane, I'll ask you, and then Dennis, what were your thoughts when you saw that they were going 11-6 and Janmark was the guy coming into the lineup?
I wanted them to go 12-6 against Vegas. No, it was different against LA because they had that annoying trap, right? And the first 3 or 4 games, Connor wasn't really getting going, right? Hyman wasn't going, Kane wasn't going, Nuge wasn't going. It was kind of just Drysdale carrying around that top 6. So, but Vegas, they got a really good center court, right? They got Jack Eichel, William Karlsson, and Chandler Stevenson, and with that center depth, and they got Nick Waugh on the 4th line. So you got to spread out that center depth, and that's why I really wanted them to go 12-6 to start game 1. And yeah, it was a great adjustment by Woodcroft, like always. I was kind of shocked to see Janmark in. I thought he'd be out for a bit longer. I didn't even know he was like practicing. I thought he'd be out for the series, but Janmark was great on the PK like always. Another guy I want to touch on, Darren A. I mean, he had the first 2 games were bad, but these last 2 games, he's probably one of our better defensemen. I'm not gonna lie. On a night, he had a 92 expected goals for percentage. So he was one of our top players of the game. So just good on Vinny. Just good on Vinny for bouncing back, because a lot of people were kind of harping on him for those 2 games.
Myself included. I was one of those guys harping on Vinny. Last game was his best game of the playoffs, I believe, and then he built on it this game, playing with Kulak, playing the minutes, I saw Bruce Kurlock point out a neutral zone defense adjustment that allowed the Oilers forwards to support Vinny. And again, can't remember it off the top of my head, but they made Vinny's life easier. Vinny, again, performed when he had to. The penalty kill was phenomenal, even though, it hasn't really been a weak point for the Oilers this series. Vegas's power play is something that just kills their momentum, right?
Yeah.
Like, they come out 2 minutes. I was really worried when McLeod took that penalty. I'm like, okay, McLeod clearly buzzing. The crowd is going. He's feeding off that energy. He forechecks a little too hard, chops down the Vegas defender, and they're immediately that's called. And I'm like, oh no. They kill it off, and then McDavid draws kind of like a regular season slashing call, right? Something that, happens 30 times a game, but never gets that call. So I was really happy to see, and they kind of even it up there. The refs are they were really trying to keep it even throughout the game. You could tell. Even, later on, there was that thing where Vegas had too many men, and Nurse was tripped kind of on a partial break, and they just weren't calling anything because the Oilers were at that point like 1 for 2 on the power play or whatever. But whatever, we can get into that more. But one thing I just want to say before we continue on. There is currently 72 people watching. I see John Jensen, Riddy, you're making some great points in chat. Makinator, MGD, as always. Mookie, I saw Adele, Dave Rowlands, ton of people. Dana, never seen you before. Travis Sautner, thanks for joining us. This is a blast. It's going to be a fantastic show. Please hit that like button, subscribe to SDPN, support the channel. We can't wait to be back with you for Game 5 and so on, because we have a blast doing these. I'm so excited Shaden's here and whatnot. But yeah, what I was going to say is, that first period was absolutely dominant, right? The Oilers come out of it 3-0. Vegas isn't getting a sniff. How nervous were you after that third period? Did either of you think that Vegas had a chance of coming back? Dennis, I'll ask you then, Shaden.
I didn't feel it. Like, you looked at the way that Vegas played today, and it felt like the way the Oilers played last game, right? Half the time you look at a Vegas player and there's a chance that he's sitting on his ass. So there's this amazing bounce back here from the Oilers where they played so hard, so gritty. The hits were obviously fantastic, but just the pressure, the sticks in shooting lanes, bodies in shooting lanes that stopped Vegas from really getting any momentum early on in the game specifically. I thought by the time it got to the third period, it was a little too late for Vegas. They do have that annoying tendency where they start playing a very different game when they start playing the let's beat each other up type of game. And Zach, we talked about it before. The Vegas Golden Knights are not built for that style of play. Like, everything that they do when they try and threaten the Oilers feels empty. Because the Oilers are just this hulking monstrosity when you try and fight them hand to hand. And Vegas doesn't have the actual guys that are capable of going toe and toe with them. Jay, what are your thoughts?
About Vegas's physicality, or about
the third period, that physicality?
Okay. I kind of got that nerves because it's the Oilers, and there's always this feeling that they could choke it, because we've seen it time and time again.
Yep.
But no, they weren't going to choke the lead. This is a different team. I think that woggle was nice, though. I think there was no chance for Skinner on that one. I was like,
no, right over the shoulder. Alone. First goal of the playoffs, gets off the schneid. That was just a nice goal. There was a little bit of a lack of back pressure from Leon, but Leon was in beast mode tonight, right? He was throwing a million checks, and on that back check, he was just focused on being physical. He wasn't really focused on defense. So, yeah, that's just kind of what you said. But the wall goal was sick.
And you got the Leon that was throwing reverse hits, really hammering guys shoulder first right into the boards. This is the Leon that exemplifies power forward. This is the epitome of power forward in today's modern NHL. And you look at everyone, it's a supporting cast effect too. I thought as a line, McLeod, Fogle, and Ryan were so good today as well. Something about the buzz. Fogle and McLeod have to have some sort of natural chemistry going on here, because those passes there that they were zipping back and forth, they're just 96% of the way there. They're just missing that final little bit of finish.
Yeah, 4% finishing from Fogle. That one-timer, I can't remember who the defenseman was that passed it up. It might have been Kane to McLeod. McLeod right across the crease to Fogle, who just misses the one-timer. It was a pretty good save by Hill. But McLeod is flying. Because of that McDry adjustment, right? Finally, Woodcroft makes the decision full time, splits them apart 5-on-5. I only saw them together one time 5-on-5 is right after the first kill of the first period. That was the only time they were together. Other than that, it was 3 different lines gave Vegas a ton of fits. They had no answer because, as you saw later on, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins got going 5-on-5. Evander Kane was going 5-on-5. The Oilers are a completely different beast. And not to mention that this is again, like I said, the performance is the most dominant. This is the most dominant third line I've ever seen in an Edmonton Oilers uniform. Like the Derek Ryan is never in his own zone ever. It's either he's killing penalties or he's in the offensive zone. I remember getting frustrated with Derek Ryan a little bit early on in his Oilers tenure. I thought he was a little slow. Oh my God, has he made me look like an idiot? What a fan. I've never seen a smarter hockey player. He is phenomenal. Shaden, what did you think of the third line tonight?
Love them. I absolutely love them. I've always loved Ryan McLeod, and I tweeted this out too. If he just shot the puck a bit more often, he'd be like a 20 goal scorer, probably like a consistent 40 to 50 third line center shutdown guy. And I want him to gain some offensive creativity because he has the speed and he has the puck skills to do it. And I think as he matures, he will eventually put those things together and he will go off. And Warren Fogle has made me eat crow. I wasn't the happiest when that trade first went down. I was a big Ethan Barrett fan, but he's been so good this season. He's kind of, he's also kind of like a power forward. He throws the body a lot. He's very tenacious on the forecheck. I love him. And yeah, like you said, Derek Ryan's such a great, smart defensive player. Heck, even Nick Bukestad's very similar to him. I just love our whole bottom six. Clean Costin had another good game.
Phenomenal.
It's
amazing.
It's nice to see the Oilers finally have a capable bottom six. We've been waited years for this, and
back-to-back games.
It's nice.
Back-to-back games, the bottom six starts the scoring 5-on-5, right? I see in the chat, MGD added me, said, look at Glenn Dom's shout-out. And Glenn Dom says, Zach, can you give a shout-out to Big J tonight? Would make his day. So, yeah, I'm in a good mood. The Oilers won. Here's your shout-out, Big J. Hope you have a good night. But yeah, no, the chat's just popping off. So yeah, guys, once again, hit that like button. We really appreciate it. Let's make the goal. What was the score? It was 4-1. Let's make it 141. We haven't crossed triple digits in a while. There's 107 of you watching, so please hit it. And yeah, let's get back to the game. And I know there's a lot of other things we're talking about, but the big story tonight is the physicality, I think, in the third period. There was a ton of plays. People were getting thrown out. It started with Yamamoto and Stevenson, and Sportsnet never even showed the replay, so we don't even know. Still don't know what happened there. But man, it starts off the whole game. Like before we kind of start in the third period, the Edmonton Oilers, every chance they got, it's kind of been this complete 180 where one game Vegas has their forecheck going and they're causing our defense to create turnovers. And then Edmonton gets their forecheck going. And Edmonton is the second, I believe, the second biggest team in terms of just average height left in the playoffs. I think Dallas is the only team that's bigger. And when guys like Leon and Evander Kane are targeting you and hammering you shift after shift after shift, you're going to get frustrated. In all game, Edmonton's defense, whether it was Braden McNabb, Alex Pietrangelo, Shea Theodore in the first 8 minutes, the forecheck caused massive issues because he caused essentially the first 2 goals against. He is the turnover. Bukestad Costin forecheck caused the turnover. And then he gets really frustrated. Spears Costin in the nuts, very undisciplined. The most disciplined team in the NHL has become completely unbuttoned. I believe in both losses, they've had a franchise record for penalty minutes each game. So they've come undone quite a bit. But yeah, you see that frustration just completely boil over because it's similar to what happened last game. Vegas knows they're not getting back in the game. You see they're missing nets, they're doing whatever. Eichel, his beard reminds me of a picture Jamal Murray shared a few years ago. So
dude,
you can Google that and figure that out.
Eichel with his whole look, his hair and his facial hair, it looks like the dude from Home Alone.
Yeah,
like the one robber from Home Alone. Dude is like greasy. And here's the thing, like Vegas, you look at this team and they're just greasy, but they're unable to actually get it done. Right?
LA was greasy. I think Vegas is like Vegas isn't greasy. Vegas wants to be, but they
want to be greasy. They got the slick back hair, they got the mustache going, but they don't got it in them. They don't got that dog in them. But meanwhile, you see guys like Bukestad, like you said, like Costin, Kane especially, they're not taking anything from anyone. Now, I do know that you're recapping the game, but I wanted to jump in quickly because I did get some breaking news from producer Rob. Thank you very much. Much love out there to producer Rob. Darnell Nurse is getting a 1-game suspension, but it can be overturned on review. So, guys, what do you think about that? So far nothing regarding Pietrangelo and his slash on Leon Draisaitl.
They'll announce that if he's having a hearing or not, but I can guarantee you Alex Pietrangelo will have a hearing whether or not he gets fined or, cross my fingers, suspended, because of what a game changer that could be. Whatever. But I'll just give my thoughts. I don't think Darnell Nurse is going to get suspended. Now, I don't remember much precedent for this, and I know the rule, but I can't think of an example either way of the player getting suspended or not getting suspended off the top of my head. But again, I think they both willingly just engaged. Like, I know he gets the instigator technically, but that to me was just a fight. Like, I don't necessarily, I can't see Darnell Nurse getting suspended. I think they'll repeal it. But Shaden, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if Nurse gets suspended, not Pietrangelo, that's a joke, first of all. I don't know what he did that's suspendable though. He just started an Instagram in the past in the last 5 minutes, and that gets you a 1-game suspension. Like, it makes no sense.
It.
And
from Elliot Friedman, that's what apparently
that's
the rule is.
It's an automatic.
I think they'll appeal it. I that just looked like a normal fight to me. That's very questionable. That's weird. That they shouldn't suspend him. Not at all.
I think he won't get suspended. I think you'll hear tomorrow that he's not going to get suspended. Alex Pietrangelo, on the other hand, Leon Draisaitl. In my head, when I saw, the clock was ticking down and Vegas was getting more and more chippy, they're taking runs at Stu. They're doing everything they could possibly do to try and get an edge because the Oilers have just dominated and embarrassed them. It was like a midget team playing an Atom team. Like, this was not a fair fight from the beginning. The Oilers are the physical edge, they have the skill edge. Like, this was unfair, and you saw Vegas get really fed up with it. And later on in that third, there was that Yamamoto thing, but then it really escalated when Alex Pietrangelo gets the puck on the boards. He's kind of start the breakout. He goes to turn, and Evander Kane was going for the hit. He was never not going for the hit. They're targeting Pietrangelo. They're trying to make his life miserable, just like the Knights are trying to target Bouchard. And he hits Pietrangelo. Pietrangelo numbers, he kind of like comes from behind, and he makes contact on the numbers, but he's already falling over. To me, not suspendable. I saw a bunch of Vegas fans want Kane suspended. I don't think that's a suspension. I think that's happened numerous times throughout the series. Maybe he gets a fine just based on his name being Evander Kane, but I don't think if that's Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is getting a suspension. How is that any different from what Brett Howden did to Evan Bouchard in the first period of the last game? You know what I mean? The cross-check right into the boards from behind, and that clearly affected Bouchard in game 3. So I don't think that's a suspension. But Pietrangelo straight up tried to take the best player out of the series. Like, that's what his goal was. His goal was, I want to injure Leon Draisaitl. Puck was nowhere near him, and he whacks him as hard as he can in the hands. The refs called it a major penalty because of intent to injure, I believe. And yeah, he will be getting a call from player safety. If Pietrangelo is suspended, there's one of two things could happen. We can get into the storylines a little bit down the road. But what did you guys make of that play with Alex Pietrangelo and Leon Draisaitl?
Shay, do you want to go ahead first?
Just dirty. It's pathetic, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, they're getting their teeth kicked in, and they're going to take a run at our stars, and that's what really made me appreciate Darnell Nurse stepping up.
Mm-hmm.
We're not the Seattle Oilers. We're not going to take this crap from these players, and I mean, if Pietrangelo is suspended for next game, that's huge for us. That's such a big advantage because you're in Vegas, right? If you can steal that game, you're coming home to Game 6 in Edmonton to close out the series.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be huge. But like I said, we'll see what happens over the next couple of days. But I think Connor just spoke about it in his interview, saying he needs to be suspended. He's
Exactly.
So yeah, it's a joke.
Because then Alex Pietrangelo sees, oh, Connor McDavid is the guy coming at me. I'm gonna try and fight him. If it's any other player, he doesn't throw any punches. It's just a scrum, right? But we saw it with Stamkos and Austin Matthews. They see it's the best player and they take advantage. They want to do whatever they can to get a physical edge, get an advantage, get those guys off the ice. Thank God it was the end of the game, right? There nothing really came of it. But yeah, no, Connor was furious. That's as dirty of a play as you can get. It's one thing, like the Oilers, what they did to Mark Stone early on is, okay, during the play, you're walking that line, you're telling there's an injury, but you're doing stuff that's within the rules of the game to give yourself a competitive advantage. If they go overboard on the cross check, the ref calls it, right? What Alex Pietrangelo did is just skated up to Leon Draisaitl and, like he's Mark McGuire trying to hit a home run, just tries to take off Leon Draisaitl's fingers. Like, it's unbelievable, right? Like, he's
pulling an executioner, right? Like, he wound up and absolutely just two-hand chopped Draisaitl. And you're right, like, it's wild if Nurse has to serve a suspension and Pietrangelo doesn't, right? I wouldn't put it past the Department of Player Safety. Like, let's be honest. The NHL has no recourse in terms of this punishment and keeping players safe. It's a joke. But I think the fact that Nurse potentially has a suspension hanging over his head does make the likelihood that Pietrangelo's suspension might happen as well.
Couple things.
I just can't see it, like, for the good of hockey and for the good of this series, I can't see both happening.
Couple things before, and then I'll let Shane give his thoughts on this. So I see MGE in chat says, I like Broberg. He isn't ready to play a couple games. And I saw some people giving Broberg some love earlier. Broberg in this series has actually been relatively good. The best game of Philip Broberg's career came against the Vegas Golden Knights. He played 23 minutes, I believe. He was a significant, I think it was like a 60, or he controlled like 60% of the expected goals. And the best game of Broberg's career came against the Vegas Golden Knights last season. But what this reminds me of as well, and we can kind of go both ways with this, is last year in the playoffs, game 6, going to LA, must-win game, Darnell Nurse is suspended for headbutting Philip Deneau, right? So the Oilers have experience playing without Darnell Nurse. Brett Kulak in that game stepped up. Like we've seen in the playoffs so far this year, Brett Kulak's already stepped up. Obviously, Brett Kulak would have to step up a lot more. Philip Broberg would have to step up a lot more. Matthias Ekholm probably would play like 30 minutes if Darnell Nurse is suspended. But we've seen the Oilers go into a game 6 on the road with Darnell Nurse out. Now, it was one of those things, I think, when the Oilers dressing room, they saw Nurse is suspended and they rallied around that. The team defense improved, right? That game 6 is one of the best games we've ever seen Connor McDavid play. Like, that was an inspiration to the team. What I'm hoping is, and what the thing that I think, and you guys can let me know if you even think this is a possibility, and maybe I'm just being a neurotic Oilers fan, but Pietrangelo gets suspended, and that's what really tightens up Vegas's game, right? They rally around that, and that's kind of their thing. Like, yeah, the best players out. We all need to be better. We all need to increase our compete, and if we want to win, when David Ayres came in for Carolina against the Leafs, you saw just that urgency and that intensity that the Leafs just couldn't match. Like, you have a disadvantage, so you just play to the utmost best of your ability, and that's what pushes you over the top. So that's the only thing that worries me about Alex Pietrangelo's suspension. But I think the killer instinct in the Oilers is, I like, this to me is I've never seen this level of killer instinct. Like, the way, like, Connor, Leon, I've never seen him driving around like an absolute, like a rhino, just destroying people. Evander Kane destroying people. Warren Fogle destroying. Evan Bouchard was stepping up on people at the blue line. People were complaining for years about the lack of physicality in Evan Bouchard's game. Every Oiler, whether it's McDavid or Derek Ryan or Kyler Yamamoto, is finishing their checks and playing physical, and they want to kill the Vegas Golden Knights. You can tell when Connor says something in an interview like that, they are mad. I'm very, very excited to see what happens. This series, I know, again, people are, like you said off the top, Dennis, people are like, oh, they're bad, the blowouts. This is one of the most fun series I can remember, just because, one, you never know who's going to show up. We've seen phenomenal performances. You could see, I think McDavid started to really come out of his shell during that shorthanded rush where he did that deep pass to Janmark, right through Janmark's legs and miss it. But you start to see Connor start demanding the puck, getting more and more rushes. I believe he's healthy. I don't think there's anything wrong with him other than, the regular bumps and bruises. But man, I am so excited for Game 5. What do you think would happen if Alex Pietrangelo gets suspended, Shaden?
Like you said, I mean that's something a team would rally around, but I think the Oilers would be fine with that. I think
Yeah.
they take advantage over Vegas without their top pair demon. No, they
Well,
might play. Vegas would definitely play tighter, but
mhm,
Dave and Drysdale can easily overcome them. When you have two of those best players in the world, anything could happen. So,
absolutely.
I think Vegas would be kind of crapping their pants if Petrangelo gets suspended, right?
Oh,
And
yes.
and if Nurse does get suspended, like you said, I have faith in Matthias Ekholm to play those tough minutes. We've seen Brett Kulak do it, and like you said, Broberg's been really good this series. So,
Mhm.
the Oilers have the depth on the left side in case a suspension
Yes.
or injury like this happens.
Yes.
So, no, I'm not worried at all.
One
I
thing, just yes. Oh, sorry. You continue. Continue. I don't want to cut you off.
No, it's okay. I was on.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to say real quick before Dennis gives his thoughts that remember, Shea Theodore was the original cause of Vegas's first 2 goals. The first 8 minutes of the game were a nightmare for him. If Petrangelo's out, Shea Theodore is the one who's getting elevated, right? I believe he's the right-handed defenseman and Martinez is the left. I might be wrong, or maybe but I believe Theodore
No,
is the
it is
second
Theodore,
right-handed defenseman. Yeah, you're elevating Shea Theodore's minutes. That could be a major advantage because I think Shea Theodore is what a lot of Oilers fans thought Evan Bouchard was, pretty good offensively, but, lacking in the defensive zone. Evan Bouchard, besides game 3, where he had those hiccups after getting frosted in the head, is outstanding. And Shea Theodore was a nightmare. So if Petrangelo's out and you have to upgrade Theodore, man, the Knights could be in a world of hurt. So, yeah, it's going to be real interesting here.
Look, and I wanted to bring in a couple of quotes coming from the post-game press conferences. Obviously, producer Rob sharing a McDavid quote there. The two-hander on Draisaitl is as much intent to injure as you can get, and says that Pietrangelo should be suspended. You get calls from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins saying it's not really a hockey play. You know that he's not, you know what he's trying to do. And Nick Bjugstad calls it a dirty play. Like, it's very clear that when you have guys that are playing playoff hockey, right, there is that line, and it gets a little bit muddled during the emotions of a game. But post game, when you see a unanimous call from the entire team to go, hey, that's not acceptable. We're not going to go down to that level. We're not going to start murdering each other on ice with our sticks. There's something that has to happen. My fear is, knowing the history of the Department of Player Safety, knowing the history of the NHL, they're going to write this off as like a coincidental to say, oh yeah, well, Nurse technically had an automatic suspension, so we're going to cancel this one, and then we're not going to do anything to Pietrangelo, maybe a $5,000 fine, the maximum under the CBA, and then they're just going to call it at that. Like, that is the fear. But to be honest, well, if I'm answering your question and Pietrangelo does get suspended, I don't think the Vegas Golden Knights have it in them to actually fight this Oilers team the way that they're running right now. If the engine is this hot, like in this game and in game 2, in every second game, if the Oilers break that streak and come in on Friday like they want to win the game, Vegas, no amount of morale, no amount of like camaraderie, they're not going to get to stop.
In order to win the series, they'll have to win 2 in a row at some point, whether it's this game and next game or game 6 and game 7. If the Edmonton Oilers are going to win the series, they have to win 2 in a row. So yeah, there's definitely that, and that's an important thing to remember. So I think it's going to be very pivotal seeing what happens to those 2 players. Really made a great point talking about how the DOPS suspended McCarr. Like, they could easily suspend Alex Pietrangelo. When the best player in the world says he should be suspended, like, that is probably the most impactful, insightful quote, I should say, into what McDavid's actually thinking after a game that I've ever heard Connor McDavid say. So I really do believe that, he will get suspended for 1 game. So there's that.
Like, let's get back to it, because I know that has been the dominant storyline. Obviously, the refs tried to calm things down, but You send off like Yamamoto and who was it
Chandler
that went off?
Stevenson,
Yeah, like Stevenson. Like
then Kane
at
for
one
nothing.
point, right? When you start ejecting guys, how much does that mean for the rest of the team to go, you know what? The ref's trying to call this game. Let's just get into it. Let's try and have a little tilt here. Let's have a little fun.
Well,
Send a message, and I'm just gonna hit the showers early. Like, do you
yeah,
think
I
that
don't know.
that's
That they're just trying to keep the playoffs as clean. This is happening all over the league. Like I don't think it's that deep or anything. One thing I kind of did acknowledge, I will say that nurse Nick Hag, what Hag, yeah, I can't say his last name. Jeez, but I was saying Robert Hag maybe. Anyways, yeah, that was one of the best fights I've ever seen. Like just straight up, that it was equal. I thought like both guys definitely got their blows in. Nurse didn't look like he was any worse for wear after the fight, and I know we kind of talked on about the consequences of that, but I thought that was an exceptional fight. I was like full disclosure, I was a little giddy when that happened, even though there were some negative consequences to it. What did you guys think of the play of Stuart Skinner?
Great. I don't think. I mean, we can call spade a spade. He hasn't been the best this postseason, but that's expected. Right? He's a rookie goalie, first year in the playoffs. But one thing about Stu is that after a bad outing, he shows up the next night, and he's done that consistently. He made the saves he needed to. He was great on the PK today, phenomenal. And yeah, the sky's the limit for him. Like I really think he can be one of the best goalies in the league if he continues on the trend he's on right now. And yeah, just a great game for him. I didn't even think last game was on him, to be honest. I mean,
No.
Especially in the first period of that game, could have been like 4-1 Vegas,
Totally.
right? So, good for him. And yeah, I know a lot of people wanted this Campbell to get the start today, and I could see why. I mean, Campbell's kind of the reason why we're still kind of in the playoffs. If you remember that game, if you want to talk about Game 4 from LA, but yeah, like good for Stu. I know he's gonna have a great game on Friday. Yeah, just a calm.
I will say about Stu, he was calm. I think it was funny early on. One of the things where I think you saw, and again, I agree with you totally. Like, I don't think it was on Stu whatsoever. He let in some high danger chances. You like the stops, but it's one of those things where it's really tough to complain or be sad. Like you understand it, but again, whatever. We've had this discussion a million times. But I will say, Vegas, you saw, was targeting his glove. And he was coming up with glove saves at big times. That was the difference to me in this game. I saw on the Vegas' power play, one of their defensemen, I believe it was Theodore this time, snuck in kind of, it wasn't 5-on-5 like the White Cloud goal last game, but he snuck in from the top of the zone, did get a shot off. And instead of, obviously, Stu had all that room over his shoulders. This game, he was a lot taller and made those shoulder saves that Vegas was kind of exploiting last game. He was a lot calmer, but I don't necessarily believe he played like, I can't say he played significantly better than he did last game. I think the Oilers defense was just top notch, next level, right? Like I think Stu has been consistent. I think he's been consistently good. And if you can support him with games like this, and obviously every game against Vegas is not going to be this complete domination that we've seen in games 2 and games 4. I assume that they will be closer as the series goes on, as the penalties could, kind of dry up. Depending on the physicality, we'll see what happens there, because there is going to be it's going to be heated, I think, when game 5 gets started. But it's going to be really interesting. But I have a lot of faith in Stu, and when I see him make those first couple glove saves, you see that pad save on Stone, you see him kind of, they showed it on the broadcast, that was like it was a tip and he kind of was moving one way, but he torqued his hips to go the other way and stopped the redirection, and you just can feel confident with him in the net. Dennis, how'd you feel about Stu's play?
Yeah, from the hop, like Stu at the end of the game, his numbers show that he didn't get tested a whole heck of a lot compared to Aiden Hill on the other side, but you look at it and so many of those big saves, he came up with them when you needed them. And credit where credit's due. Like you talk about that first pad save on Stone. Yes, it's fantastic that Skinner got the stretch out just to stop it there. But if it wasn't for that defensive play by Yamamoto to kind of chop him in the back, right? Call a spade, like you said. But if it wasn't for that level of defensive play, clearing the net, getting him some vision during these plays, Skinner is not going to make as many of these big quality saves, right? The things that we saw last game was Knights just hovering in that slot area, hovering in front of Skinner, getting just a tiny little bit of a stick tip on things.
Much better in front of the net.
So much better. And the fact that they're clearing out the crease a lot more consistently this game. And you said his glove hand, they flashed the graphic last time, and I think it was like 13 high glove chances or something like that to like 5 everywhere else for Stuart Skinner. He clearly took that to heart, because he absolutely flashed the leather tons of times. The one that really stuck in my mind was early in the third period. Carlson had a great chance and just amazing grab out of the air from Stuart Skinner. I think his confidence is definitely back. It's always weird, right? We have this sort of Stu or Jack. Where do we go? Is it going to ruin someone's confidence if we pull? Is it going to be bad if we switch to Campbell all of a sudden? I think I'm going to drink the Kool-Aid. I think they just love each other. If one guy's having a struggle, the other guy comes in, bails him out a little bit, at least takes some of the heat off. Skinner is the number one goalie for sure in Edmonton right now. I think next game, if the defense is at the same level, I have full faith in Stuart Skinner closing it out.
Yeah, Stu was great. He was also, I just want to say again, on the penalty kill, like the penalty kills, he was good, but Stu was tracking the puck exceptionally well on the penalty kill. Marsh showed a one-timer. I know he didn't get all of it kind of on one of Vegas's later power plays, but Stu was gobbling everything up. There wasn't many rebounds. Conversely, Aiden Hill, rebound machine, not nearly as scary this game as he was in, the prior 2 appearances that we've seen him. So it seems like Aiden Hill, seriously, like the most mid goalie ever. Not exceptional. Lots of rebounds. There is place to score. Bouchard and Ekholm kind of score identical goals from the opposite sides. There is space in front. There's always going to be chances. But we can get into the play of Aiden Hill if you want. But the one thing that I also want to say and I wanted to make sure we touch on this, because this is a huge thing. And if this guy gets going, this could be a game changer for the Oilers this series. We finally got a Ryan Nugent-Hopkins 5-on-5 goal. How excited were you, Shaden, when you saw Nugent-Hopkins score?
I loved it. I was so happy for him. Him and Hyman have kind of been lackluster all playoffs long. And Hyman is clearly nursing something on his leg or his knee. But, I really have a feeling Nugent is also having an injury right now. Mm-hmm. I think, I don't know who posted a screenshot, but someone posted a screenshot from an Oilers Plus episode. And it looked like there's something wrong with his shoulder, and Nuge just had a lot of shoulder injuries in his career. So, but it was nice to see him get off the schneid. Hopefully this builds confidence in his game, and we get to see, Nuge get a couple of goals. Maybe Hyman starts to get going too, because last playoffs, the big driver for us were our wingers. Kane had 13 goals, right? Nuge, I think Hyman had 11, and half of them were against
goal a game.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
And I
Kane
think
had 13.
Yeah. Nuge had around 6 or 7. So I've been saying this for weeks, ever since game 1 against LA. Once our top 6 wingers finally get going, this team's a machine. No one's gonna stop them. Besides maybe Carolina, and if Ottinger if we meet Dallas in the third round, right? If
we gotta be Vegas first.
Yeah. Well, I think this team's is a wagon. And you saw the signs today. You saw the signs.
Well,
during game 2, this is a good team. This is a really good team.
I agree with you. They're a wagon, but they also are a wagon that has episodes like they did in game 3, right? Where they are just they look like they're, the Columbus Blue Jackets. If you took the jerseys off, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
It's like when you're on the Oregon Trail, right? Sometimes you lose an axle and you can't ford a river, and next thing you know, half your supplies are washed away. One thing about the Nuge goal I really wanted to bring up was the fact that it not only was your prototypical Nuge goal, it was that quick low blocker snap of a shot that he has, but early on during the zone exit, Nuge did a fantastic job out muscling 3 Vegas Golden Knights, just getting it out of the defensive zone into that transition. So I'm wondering, maybe he does have a bit of an injury, maybe it's a shoulder, but it's clearly something that he's working through. He still has a lot to give. It's not a situation where he can afford to be a passenger because of so and so. So I have full faith in Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I think he's gonna step it up for sure later on in the series, and his engine's definitely picking it up. One of the happiest players, I think, for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins was Connor McDavid. When you saw him get that goal, Connor, first thing was just the point, the
leader.
laugh. He's a great guy. He's a leader, like you said. During the first period, I can't remember when it was. He was on the he was tapping guys on the bench, the third liners, going, "Hey, great job, good effort." It was after the Bukestad goal.
Yeah,
he was just tapping guys on the head, going, "Hey,
standing on the
job."
bench when they're up 4-0, and Klim Kostin goes for one of those amazing shot blocks, right? Like those are the character plays. So these guys are there. They want to win so bad. I've never seen the hunger to win like I have on this Oilers team. Like we've seen them make runs before, but this team, like they might win, they might lose, but the way that they're playing, it feels different. They feel more motivated. You just feel that and this, I hate using like these cliches, like these boomer hockey guy sports journal cliches, but you can there is something to it when you can feel that they know what it takes to win in the playoffs. And I used to never think that was a real thing, but you can see, like, you see what happens with Toronto, right? And they won today, good for them. But you can just see when a team doesn't understand how to play in the playoffs. Like this team tonight, you would never see a performance from it like this in the regular season. Leon wouldn't did Leon what? Leon does not forecheck at all. Like, does Leon ever forecheck? He stands there with his stick and tries to knock down the breakout pass every single time. I don't think he had more than 2 hits on the forecheck in the entire regular season. This game, he was such a beast. I was so impressed. I cannot tell you how much I love the play of Leon Draisaitl. I know he did. I don't even think he ended up with getting a shot on goal this game. I don't think he got a shot. And this might be one of my favorite games I've seen from him, just from the other elements. I've never seen someone that can take abuse like that, albeit, abuse that's within the lines of the game, not just Alex Pietrangelo swinging like he's King Arthur trying to take his hands off. So yeah, there's that. And he invites the contact. He's so dominant. You can't get in this guy's head. If anything, you just make him more angry. And when he's angry, he drops 4 goals on you. So either way, you're screwed. You're literally screwed. There's nothing that you guys that you can do. So it's really, really awesome to see. Awesome.
It's that pissy Leon meme, right? It's the fact that he'll get in there. You're gonna try and sneak up on him, maybe a little bit of a dirtier hit from behind. He sees you coming. He's got the emperor eye. He can see all 360 degrees. He knows you're coming. He's gonna lay that big reverse hit. Like I mentioned earlier on in this show, the Vegas Golden Knights, they talk a big game and they try and play this really physical hitting style of game. But Edmonton, when they're going, the legs are going, they're hitting people. Half the time, Vegas Golden Knights are, again, sitting on their backside. There's so much that this team can do. It's just a little disappointing when you see, like in game 3, where they just don't have any momentum going for them. So if they have any chance of winning this series, they have to keep this up.
Physicality wakes them up. One thing I do want to say, MGD corrected me in chat, Dry ended up finishing the game with 1 shot on goal. So I just wanted to throw that out there. The 81 of you guys watching right now, hit that like button if you haven't already. We truly appreciate you all hanging out with us. This was a blast, and I think collectively we all can agree that we are hoping for a Dallas win tomorrow. I'll be on my couch watching them just like they're the Oilers. Man, when I was saying this to the guys in the Game Over Edmonton chat, that when Max Domi scored the goal, I think believed to put Dallas up 3-0, I jumped off my couch like it was Nick Bukestad scoring. Like man, Dallas Stars have become my second favorite team, not by desire, but straight out of necessity, because I just know it's a curse. I don't know what it is, but it's weird. Unbelievable.
Wait, hold on. If this holds true, what's going to happen in round 3?
Yeah, what's happening in the third, infinite overtime?
Well, exactly. We'll see. But let's cross that bridge when we get there. But it's either going to be Vegas, Seattle, or Dallas, Edmonton. No in between.
Vegas, Seattle's like the dream third round for the NHL. All the 2 newest expansion teams playing against each other in the conference finals.
Yeah.
But
Shay,
Yeah, we'll
don't
see.
expose the script, man. Like we got contracts here, man. Don't expose the NHL script.
Yeah. But yeah, hope huge Dallas Stars fan tomorrow. Massive.
Absolutely. I'm gonna go put on my Jake Ottinger jersey and I'm gonna have a blast watching that game. But yeah, no, a full on domination from the Oilers. Like you just look, they finished the game. It says they only got eight high danger chances to Vegas finished the game with 4. 3 of Vegas's 4 came in the third period, and that's kind of score effects, right? We saw the Oilers kind of try and sit back later on in the game, and obviously that's when the physicality came. But this is a team where I think the physicality wakes up. You saw Costin try and get into it, and man, was he laying the body hard. Like Klim Kostin has underratedly become one of my favorite Oilers. You know, there's just so many. Nick Bjugstad, who I know was known before he came to the Oilers, is not one of the most physical guys, despite being like 6'7" or what he is. He's coming out and he's just dominating guys in the corners. He's playing as physical as you can remember. Obviously, his forechecking is one of the key reasons why they scored the first goal of the game. But yeah, no, this full on, like, what else can you really say? Like, this was a drubbing. I think we all expect, just like games 1 and 3, Vegas is going to be significantly better. We'll see what happens with the suspensions, but overall, that's kind of all my thoughts on the game. There's not really much you could say there. Is there anything else you guys wanted to add? Shade?
Well, a part of me really wanted to see Jonathan Quicken say. I know,
Yes,
like after
boy.
I was really hoping they would pull Aiden Hill, and who knows, maybe if we keep scoring on Aiden Hill in Game 5, maybe they put Quick in Game 6 because of the veteran experience. Who knows?
100% will be a narrative.
Yeah, I hope that happens. And I mean, if Jonathan Quick goes in, we score 8 goals. I'm not, to be honest, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Obviously, the Baswa injury is really tough for Vegas. Never want to see that, especially, it's a former Oiler, right? He spent even his junior career, right? He played for the Oil Kings, so hopefully Baswa gets healthy as fast as he can. But also the book on Aiden Hill, I think it was Oil and Goal.
Yeah, Oil and Goal. I saw the thread.
He's pretty slow at reacting to wraparounds. Usually when he's in his butterfly, the entire upper net is open. So, just keep picking those spots and they'll be fine.
Absolutely. I'm glad you put that out there. There was one play that I should have, before we wrap up, I want to say there was a play Stuart Skinner had. Whenever Stu handles a puck, the one thing Jack Campbell is he's a better puck handler than Stuart Skinner. Like full stop. No debate. Stu had a play where he passed the puck to Leon Draisaitl in front of the net, like no goalie, like just Leon in the puck. If Leon mishandles that, that's a goal for Vegas. And that scared the crap out of me. So I just want to say good on Leon for saving that one. But yeah, Dennis, anything else you want to add today?
Not a whole lot. Like I mentioned earlier, the Oilers, if they keep playing like a wagon, they're gonna win this series. And I think a lot of people are picking the winner of this series to win the cup. Look at the performances. It's hard to say no to that. One last comment from me. I'm happy that we got the win, but guys, there's now another sort of a storyline going on here. Brett Kissel for the national anthem. Yay or nay?
Hell no.
No, he's a curse.
You heard it here first, guys. That's it for us tonight. So next game, we're looking at Friday. Finally, we got the start time. It's obviously going to be in Vegas. It's an 8 p.m. start time, Mountain Time. So another late game, but hey, we'll have the show right afterwards. So tune in to the next Game Over Edmonton. That's it for us tonight. And for another time with Shay, let's play La Bamba, baby.
Thanks,
Good night.
Appreciate it.
Game over! Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.